Doing 110, there certainly was a race for a Rambler to pass and caddy would be a big disgrace.
Hey, welcome back, folks, to the Ray program. Beep, 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 beep.
That is a cool song.
Yeah, it is a cool song, and you and I obviously remember that one. Gene Pastula in the house, certified financial planner. Now, Gene, I don't know if you heard that tease before the break, but I was asking Mr. Bobby Woo, B-Dub we call him, or now he's the Wooster. We were talking earlier about what wealthy people like you invest their money in. And obviously, a lot of them buy real estate and et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, once you've arrived, you park your money in something that's safe, that's usually pretty much guaranteed, and tax-free, right?
This coffee can.
Yes.
It's really, it's an old style.
I did a little bit of work on this morning, and I wanted to run this by you because I know you are involved on the insurance side, and I've spent a good deal of my career also in that field specifically. And we talked about this briefly before. So I went online to FMS Bonds, Inc. I have no idea who that is, but they are, I guess, are a pretty good bond outfit. And I said to myself, what if I wanted to buy tax-free municipal bonds? AAA rated, AA rated, or A rated. You don't want to go lower than that because we have had bond defaults in the past. So if you stuck with the A rated tax-free municipal bonds and you work this thing out to life expectancy, 30-year tax-free municipal bonds, because, and I was using like a 60-year-old or 62-year-old, someone that just retired and they're wealthy, and they've got whatever amount. I think I used $15,000 a year to put somewhere. Now you could put $1 million in and the numbers would work out about the same. I've done it both ways. But because I'm pretty near 62 and because I might think about putting $15,000 away each year for my grandkids or whatever, I said, well, what could I do with that money? So I buy municipal bonds. Or I could take that same $15,000 and give it to Gene Pastula. And Gene could say, well, if you and your wife are, in the early 60s, for about $15,000 per year, we could put money into a second to die life insurance policy, which would produce for you $1 million for your heirs tax-free, just like a municipal bond. The difference is in year one, if we got hit by a bus, you'd pay the heirs $1 million.
It's interesting, that bus does a lot of damage.
It does do a lot of damage.
Talk about
yes.
that bus a lot.
Yeah, get off the bus, Gus. Now, the municipal bond in 1 year pays $15,000 plus, let's see, if you bought an A-rated municipal bond, 3.7% today for 30 years. If you bought a AA-rated municipal bond, 3.35%. And if you bought a AAA rated, because the insurance company would be AAA rated. So the fair comparison, 2.8%. 2.8%. So then I said, how long does the second of us have to live for that life insurance policy to be a bad deal? In other words, if you invested the money in a tax-free municipal bond, and let's use the A-rated, the lower of the three that I talked about, quality-wise, the break-even is age 95. So if either one of us, or I should say the second of us, died anytime before age 95, I'm getting a better rate of return by buying a second-to-die life insurance policy.
And by that time, you probably won't care.
You won't care. That's exactly right. If I go with the AAA rated, it's age 99. So Gene Pastula, this is your business. This is the kind of stuff that you do. I did this specifically to tee you up, brother, because I don't know about you, but age 99, a safe, practically guaranteed investment, it just seems like it's too good to be true. So how can an insurance company do that?
Well, okay, now, if you were going to ask me how the insurance company does it, then we need a session on actuarial science and all the rest.
Well, that would be a fun show.
That would be really entertaining. Let's just accept for the moment that they can, and they've been doing it for like forever.
Right.
So that's the point. It's interesting because it's interesting you brought this up because I've had many conversations in the last 3 or 4 months, much more than ever before, probably as a result of being here once a week, on that very subject. I just sent off $850,000 contract yesterday to a couple who has this annuity that is really, really good. He doesn't need the money, and he was asking, should I get a different one, or is this the best one, or whatever? And we told him, keep it. It's excellent, but why don't you start taking the income, because it has a special feature in it that is to his advantage to do that. He says, okay, but what do I do with the money? And everything's paid. He's in good shape, and he's not really interested in stock market any more than he already is. So it's going to go to the kids, and I set it up so he's going to get $14,000 a year. He's 73, and his wife is 67 or something like that, and a second to die. Now these guys are both really healthy, so $14,000 a year buys them $850,000 for their kids.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The rate of return on that one at 95 is like 5.9% tax-free.
Right.
Now, the point is not so much that he's going to generate this great rate of return or anything, at least not from my perspective. The point is, to your point on the first segment, is that people don't understand that the insurance things that they do are just as much of a part, or should be, of their investment portfolio as the stocks and the bonds and all the other things that you do. And instead of looking at it as, oh my God, I got to write that check, or I got to put money into the insurance company and I'll never see it again, or that, you should hope you'll never see it again. The best thing that could possibly happen to you is to never see that money again. But with insurance, like life insurance and annuities and all the rest, you can be certain that somebody is going to see it again. And if they bother to sit down and calculate the rate of return, they'd be pretty impressed with you.
So what we're talking about here, folks, is something that I have discussed many times before in this program over the 25 some odd years that I have been broadcasting. And that is with an investment such as the one we're talking about. And I call it an investment. It's really not specifically designed as an investment, but as Gene said, it does belong in a portfolio, because when we look at our rate of return, we should always look at the net after-tax rate of return at a certain maturity date. In this case, it's internal tax-free or after-tax rate of return upon death. And it is virtually impossible to beat that safely in the market. Very, very difficult. Certainly not in the bond market if you die on schedule. And the only way it doesn't work is if you make it, in this case, beyond the age of 99. And at that point, like Gene said, you don't care. You say, you know what? I've had a pretty darn good life, and instead of making, 3.8%, I made 3.2%. But I lived 8 years beyond my life expectancy. Phenomenal stuff. You'll hear more from Gene when we come back from the break. Don't go away. We are back with Gene Pastula, certified financial planner, who will be appearing at the Accredited Investors Summit with Brandon Cox, Pipeline Oil and Gas, Alex Wilson from Maderas Futuro, PreciousTimber.com, Tony Panayiotou, estate planning lawyer and pension plan administrator, brilliant guy, and me, moderating the panel of experts. You need to come by if you're anywhere near the SeaTac airport there. Just go to accreditedinvestorssummit.com, accreditedinvestorssummit.com, or call 888-629-1299 if you're not in that area and don't feel like flying in for a couple hours to get a free breakfast and listen to Pastula. Stay tuned. We'll probably come to a city near you sometime soon.
You got some great Danishes, I understand.
That's what I understand too. Yeah. Okay, and we're not talking about the ladies. We're talking about the rolls or whatever, the buns. Great Danish buns.
I think you should move along.
better stop there. All right, so before the break, we were talking about a strategy for many individuals. Everybody out there that is putting money into municipal bonds or has a municipal bond fund that does not explore the strategy that Mr. Pastula and I just talked about, maybe making a huge mistake if this is legacy money. Obviously, if it's money you got to spend between now and the time you die, it's a different story. But Gene, as you taught me 25 years ago, everybody has some legacy money.
Hopefully, I mean, if you get that, in other words, either that or you know exactly the day you're going to die. I have this thing I use in some of my seminars where I draw the picture of the couple on the beach, and the waitress is bringing them their pina colada, with the umbrella, and he pays her and offers a toast to his wife. That $20 I gave her, that was the last $20 we have. We've spent our children's inheritance. We've done it exactly right. Of course, we don't want to get, live any longer than now, or we got a real problem. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So everybody's got who has a portfolio, yes, has a legacy asset in there. The question is, do you want to just see it in cash on your statement every month, or would you rather see it be 2 or 3 times as much when your children or your charity or whoever you're giving it to, finally, cashes the check?
Okay, So we just talked about one strategy, which is a second to die life insurance policy, which, by the way, if you're in reasonably good health, it's next to impossible to beat if you live the normal life expectancy. And even if you live well beyond life expectancy, it's still pretty doggone hard to beat. Tax-free returns somewhere between 3.5% and 11%, depending on when you die. Now,
try 1,000% if you're already up and die soon.
Right.
Which happens.
It does, and it's a magnificent product that's been used for years and years and years to cover federal estate taxes, but it's not been used as much, and no one talks about it that I know of, as a percentage of your investment portfolio. I mean, if I could offer somebody, Gene, a certificate of deposit that paid 5.6% tax-free for the next 20 or 30 years, who wouldn't do that? You buy a 30-year treasury today, you don't get 3%, or you get about 3%, you got to pay tax on that. So who wouldn't do that who was informed? But let's change gears with that legacy asset for just a minute, because there are a couple of things that can upset the apple cart. Because unfortunately, not all of us live a long, healthy, and happy life, die in our sleep, and leave our kids a bunch of money. Usually, stuff happens somewhere in between. That stuff is healthcare, and you created, pioneered a product that addresses that concern as well with your legacy asset. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, actually, and we can actually continue on this theme, because although there's a variety of ways that this can be done, and you and I have spoken, almost weekly about the idea of moving money from one pocket to the next and creating a leverage, $100,000 turns into $400,000 if you need long-term care. But if you follow on what we've been saying about the idea of that buying an insurance policy with some of the money in your portfolio or some of the earnings of your portfolio to be paid at your death to your heirs as a legacy, the rate of return from an investment point of view is excellent. Now, what happens in the meantime, and the major risk that you have, financial risk, is that in between now and the time you pass away, you become incapacitated in such a way that you need to have someone care for you. 70% of us are going to have somebody taking care of us for some period of time before we die, in the last weeks, months, or years of our life. And it's getting pretty expensive. And So what if this same product that would generate an amount of money at the age of, say, 95 that represents a 5% or 4% tax-free rate of return then? Well, what if at 85, that same amount of money was needed for long-term care? We just put on a little rider on this insurance contract, and it says, look, you don't have to wait until you pass away to have someone else get the money. This same amount of money that you're setting up for your heirs can be paid to you, the insured, to reimburse for the cost of care. Now the rate of return is 3 or 4 or 500% or more, depending on how you're paying it and all the rest. I mean, now you have just made, I don't think anybody wants to go through that in order to get the higher rate of return, but I mean, it's amazing. And so when you look at these insurance contracts in the proper context of being of operating your portfolio,
it's a financial asset,
and
people need to look at it as a financial asset as opposed to an expense. You said it earlier. Nobody likes paying insurance premiums, whether it's your car insurance or health insurance or whatever. But if you got in a major car accident and you got really hurt and were in the hospital, you appreciate the fact that you paid for your car insurance and you paid for your health insurance. Here's the difference. The difference is you don't know if you're going to get in an accident and your house is going to burn down. You don't know that that's going to happen. The one thing you do know is going to happen is you are going to die. So then it's just a function of what's the internal rate of return at death going to be. If you die early, it's real high. If you die on schedule, it's pretty unbeatable. And if you live beyond that time period, maybe it's not quite as good as you would have liked. But as Gene Pastula eloquently just said, who cares? You live beyond your life expectancy and you were healthy enough to make that a bad investment. For crying out loud, that's wonderful. That's
the first time a bad investment's a good news.
Right.
You know. So and you look at, we do annuities as well, and annuities are designed to actually pay you a check every month. And if there's a lot of confusion about these things and how they fit into a portfolio, or whether or not they fit. But when you sit down and understand what it is that you're doing, and it's more than just the product itself. It's understanding the relationship between that product and the rest of your portfolio and the issues that you want to address. I don't want to have to worry about outliving my income. I don't want to worry about not having enough money if I need somebody to take care of me. I want to be able to know that my heirs are going to receive a legacy that is worthy of all the effort that I put into it over the years. Those are the things that we think about when we're in retirement, in addition to our golf score and, where our next trip is. And it's these products that can make all the difference. Now, not everybody gets impressed by it once they see it in that light, but you know what? Most people, when they understand that and see how they incorporate it into everything else that they're doing, that just makes all the sense.
And folks, as you well know, I have studied this for many years. I have article after article, research report, research study after study after study. And if you want access to the research reports or want more information on any of this, and if you like the idea of that muni bond alternative or the long-term health care alternative, or to take a look at where a life insurance policy can fit as part of your asset base, your portfolio, then go to Safe Money Monitor today and say hi to Gene Pastula. SafeMoneyMonitor.com. I'm also supposed to say hi to you from Dr. Deborah, who's going to come see you. She said she really wants to come see Gene Pastula at the SeaTac Airport Hilton on the 25th. So if you're in the area and want to meet up with Gene and get more of these ideas, he's got strategies up the wazoo. Wazoo, that's a Washington State University.
I carry my wazoo everywhere I go.
We got to go. We'll see you later, Gino.